Like, are you all around? You know what I mean? Like, that's how I see it. It's a big commitment on both halves. So
I'll
it's
put
all-
you
seriously.
mute. I see Maggie. Do you hear Maggie?
I'm hearing, yeah.
I mean, I think that-
I don't hear Maggie.
You don't hear me?
I do now.
You should.
Can you hear me, Maggie?
Yes, I can hear you, Andrew, but you sound a little muted.
It's because I was
Fine. To see what they took away from customer discovery on Tuesday. So who wants to be the victim in the classroom? You have the mic there?
Yeah. What did you want?
What do I want? So we discussed customer discovery on Tuesday. And so if you have gained any insights about how to talk about your product or your problem to your potential customers. So what's wrong, Rakshana?
Oh, the audio.
So is anybody online able to speak?
Hold on.
Can you hear me?
Yep,
Oh, I hear one person. Good.
That's me.
perfect.
All
Did
right.
you guys hear Maggie?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, we're ready.
Okay, so wants to be the victim in the room? You do? Okay, great. Can we have the microphone?
I do.
Okay. All right.
See?
Okay. Talk into the microphone.
Yes.
And tell us about your customer discovery journey.
So my customer discovery journey has been very interesting so far. I've actually been able to take the product out, let people use it and try it, ask some questions. Nobody's gotten injured yet, which is good. I'm the only one that gets injured usually.
Oh, are you the one with the
Gates.
gates? Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, so it's fun. I did my little survey, got some information for my sweepstakes and some colors. So I've really taken the advice and gone and started talking to people. Talked to my eye doctor, talked to my chiropractor, all my doctors, everybody.
All the doctors who are
Everybody I go to.
back together after
Yeah,
you fall
yeah, that's
off.
right. Yep. So it's been good so far. It's easier every time you start talking about it, the more you like don't stumble.
This is absolutely true. The more you talk about it, this is the same as true for when you're pitching. The more you talk about it, the more you practice, the easier it is.
And you learn stuff about certain people that might work for them, that might not work for someone else. I've divided into 4 different categories. So I'm trying to like figure out which touch points work for which category of people.
Yeah, so what we're doing is profiling. Everybody
perfect.
thinks that bad, but it's not bad.
Perfect.
Especially if you're just trying to understand people.
Yep. Sounds good.
Okay. All right, so let's go online. Thank you. Good job.
If somebody wants to unmute, nobody's raised their hands, but if we have a volunteer that wants to unmute and share, please feel free. Or I could call out on somebody. Let's just pick randomly. Jared? Headed?
All right, Jared, are you ready? First of all, Jared, we should probably ask if you were able to attend the class on Tuesday. The video is not ready yet. It will be ready by Friday.
Jared, if you want to unmute and share.
Yeah, I did. I missed that.
Okay.
I was here on Tuesday.
Great.
I'm actually just about to hit the road to get out there. I just got out of what I was doing.
Oh, where are you driving?
I'm about to be.
Okay,
Okay.
well, we don't have to call on you.
No, we definitely do not. Pay attention to the road, Jared.
How about Nate Rose? He was the first one in
Nate,
the Zoom today.
he is definitely
Hi.
online.
Hi, I am here. Yes, and I was here on Tuesday as well. Now,
Okay.
it was a challenging class last Tuesday for me specifically, in just trying
Okay.
to
Class.
get.
Class. Can we listen, please? I can't even hear what he's saying. Go ahead, Nate. Sorry.
Can you hear me? I'm sorry.
No, it's
Um,
not you.
Okay, so I found it challenging and just formulating the questions appropriately without leading my customers or potential customers, and there's a dance there, a balance, and I'm still trying to find it. I'm traveling this weekend, and I hope to reach out to a whole new group of people and just put myself out there and see how it goes.
Great. Be fearless.
Thank you.
That's
I
my
intend to
advice
be.
to all of you. Okay, since we're having a little trouble reaching people online, let's have another volunteer from the room to talk about customer discovery.
Do we have another volunteer in class?
We do right here. I have Rakshana running around all over the place
Here
today.
you go, sir.
My name's Mike Davis, and I'm Dr. Budsy.
You are.
I'm Dr. Budsy. I make medicated hooch, and I moved here to Las Vegas 4 years ago. And when I moved here, I first decided to do a survey. I wanted to see if this was appropriate to move here. I interviewed 40 people over close to this area. And I moved here to open up a cannabis consumption lounge, but also a barbecue restaurant. And I did have a barbecue restaurant, but it closed down about 2 blocks from here. I even fed y'all one time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
The Uncle B's Smokehouse Barbecue. Anyway, I interviewed 40 people, went out and about and asked them, number one, would you be interested in having a cannabis infused barbecue dinner? And 34 of the people said, oh yeah, they were from out of town. Six of the people said no, but we're here in Las Vegas, so we probably would. So all 40 of them said that they would. And so I have a history of interviewing people, just going up and talking with them without knowing who, but I asked them who they were, where they were from. And I said, so I would say it's definitely a positive to find out if your product is worthy of the public. And so
Yes, did you ask them anything about how much they thought they would have to pay for
I
the
did.
barbecue dinner?
I did. And because see, I moved here from Portland, Oregon. And in Portland, I did 15 cannabis infused barbecue dinners at a consumption lounge we had here. I do have a consumption lounge license, but we haven't opened it yet.
Cool.
And so, but anyway, what I was going to say is in Portland, we would get between 70 and 120 people, and they would pay between $75 and $125 a plate. But Portland is not the place to do this. Las Vegas is, because Las Vegas gets 50 million out-of-town visitors here every year. And they've done surveys, and 60 to 79% of the different surveys, the adults said that they would prefer consuming cannabis to alcohol. So my product is an alcohol substitute.
Excellent. All right. So now we're going to move on.
Oh.
Good job.
You have a bunch of people online that seem to be interested.
All right. Well, in the barbecue.
Yeah, in the
right?
barbecue.
Not in sharing their
No, not
customer
sharing.
discovery.
Down Boulder in the old Legend Sports Bar.
The old Legend Sports Bar? Oh, okay. I'll be your taste tester? I'll be your taste tester?
Okay, go ahead and
Just
check
kidding.
in.
Okay, do we want to take one more online, Maggie?
If they're raising their hands, if they just want barbecue, I can't help them.
So please do not raise your hands for barbecue, but if you do want to share, your customer questions and feedback, please feel free to unmute. Anybody online?
Well, we've done 3, so
Okay,
we're good. We've fulfilled our obligation.
we have definitely fulfilled our
All
obligation.
right. Were you able to scan the QR code? Okay, it's also over by the snacks. And I don't think you had a chance to grab a snack. All right, so tonight we're doing understanding your market and we're having a mentor session. On Tuesday, we'll be having one of our favorite people, Jose Padilla. He moved to Texas, but he's still licensed to practice in Nevada and in Texas. So the flights were cheap. So he's coming next Tuesday and he will stick around for questions for you. And then actually, we have to do our midpoint check-in. So that will be mostly a sharing session. So you will talk about what you've learned so far and any challenges that you're having. So it tends to go a little bit longer because we try to let as many people speak as want to. And then on Thursday next week, it'll be me again doing the second most fun session of the time. You guys might find that the legal one is fun. I know. Okay, here we go. Understanding your market. And these numbers, these names, these acronyms, you may hear it on Shark Tank. They will ask about TAM or SAM or SOM. And so, well, what is it? TAM is the total addressable market. So this is the entire market in the industry segment in which you want to play. So if everybody in the whole world bought it, we're going to actually research this number so we know how big your industry is. Investors are interested in this to make sure that you're not in a niche market. So, but you're not going to find out if you're in a niche market until you get to SAM. So if we were, and we happen to know and love a gal who has a women's performance ski company, but it is too small of a niche for her to garner a lot of investment. She has angels who like her skis and they'll do that sort of investment. She's never going to get venture investment because it's just too small a market. So she would be in sporting equipment as a total addressable market, but then she's down to skis and then she's down to women's performance skis and snowboards. So it's whittled down too far to such a small segment that it's not really viable for venture investment. Okay, so TAM is the total addressable market. SAM is another research number. You want to know what the spend currently is in a subsegment of the total. And most times that's going to be a geographic subsegment of the total. So it could be the United States. It could be a specific part of the industry like sports and then skiing. So it's just going to be a subset. So these numbers do get smaller, which is why we like to see them depicted in a stacked Venn diagram, which is what this is. Now, SOM, and I actually had one founder argue with me extensively last cohort about SOM. What I want to see for SOM is not the same thing as what other people want to see. So your obtainable market is a time-bound projection of your sales. So now you're taking your knowledge about the whole market and then your segment, and then you're saying, I think I can get to X dollars in revenue in 3 years or 5 years. Or if you're something that classically takes a long time, like pharmaceuticals, medical devices, where you've got a bunch of hoops that you have to jump through because of regulation, your timeline is going to be longer. But if you have an app that is something that the general public is going to use, then your timeline will be shorter. Yes, Sadia? Yes, but this is just a way for investors to understand the size of the market. But then also, I don't even spend that much time talking about CAGR, compound annual growth rates. So some markets are growing a lot. So AI is growing tremendously. Electric vehicles are growing tremendously. AI assistants are growing tremendously. So they're going to have a very high growth rate. And so if you're getting in early in one of those industries that has a high growth rate, then there is a greater potential for your business. And yes, we are interested in researched dollars. What is the current spend in TAM, and SOM should also be depicted in dollars, what you think your revenue is going to be. So I've gone into kind of a lot of detail right now, and here's my justification. These are some famous investors. There are probably more famous investors that I could put up here now, but They are all interested in the market opportunity, and most of them pretty early in your pitch. So this guy here, Camel, he wants market opportunity right away. And she wants it pretty early. The typical, and if you see here, problem, solution, that is the normal flow for a presentation. You're telling them why you decided that you needed to create this product or service because you identified this problem. Then you talk about your own solution. And then pretty quickly, you should be talking about the market size so that you keep the attention or the attention of your investors so that they know you've done the research, you understand your market, and you understand where you fit in. So that's just my proof. Now, how do we calculate this? I've already said research, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. And so to do your research, you're going to need some databases, some resources, and Google is the best place to start. If you're putting in, what is the 2-passenger electric vehicle market? What is the worldwide sales for that? Google will be able to feed you some information. They may not have the source of the number that you're looking for, but they will tell you where to go to get that source. Yes.
You have a question online from Jocelyn. How does these variations impact niche markets?
In what, Pat?
How does these variations impact niche markets? Jocelyn, do you want to reference which slide or which portion of the slide you were asking the question regarding?
Yeah,
You can
sure.
unmute.
Yeah, it was the first slide. I just thought in those 3 variations, do they impact any type of niche market?
Well, a niche market is a subset of a larger market by definition. So if your niche market is too small, then you may have to do like Jen has to do. She has to find angel investors who want her product to continue, and they're willing to invest in her. Some of them have to invest almost every year so that she can get a new order of slick new decorated skis. They're really pretty each year. But in the end, she will make enough money back that those investors will make some profit. So it's not a traditional venture type of deal where they're investing money, they're waiting 7 to 10 years, and they expect to get a 30x return. So the niche market is harder for you to find general investors. But if you have a niche market and you're new in a general market like Las Vegas, you're offering something that nobody else has, then that may give you a competitive edge for a business that is not going to go out for venture investment. Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. All righty. Okay. So Google's going to be a good place to start. They're going to tell you that Statista has your data, or LexisNexis has a report on that, or IBISWorld has a report on that. And so I have a resource at the end of the presentation. The research librarian at UNLV will help you do research. And so if you ask your questions of Google and you can identify which report you would like to see, he can get that for you. So, and he can even do a little bit more research. So he is willing, his name is Patrick, great guy. He's willing to talk with you to understand what it is that you're looking for, but you can't come in and say, okay, I have an app and it does this, right? That is not specific enough. Yes, Sadia.
Or is it better to go?
The university subscribes to several databases that are pretty expensive, that you wouldn't be able to get that information on your own. I'm not sure. I think that the library system in Clark County is amazing, but I haven't actually tested what their research capability is and what databases they have. I would start with an email, say, hey, Maggie, she told me your name, gave me your email, and this is what I'm working on. So you'll be able to take a picture at the end. All right, large companies that are considering creating a new product or buying an emerging product, they're going to hire Forrester or Gartner to go out and do a $25,000 project to figure out what the market is made up of. We can't afford that. So we're just going to do the best that we can with the databases that we have available to us through UNLV and UNR. Okay, so here are examples. Sometimes if you're disrupting and making a new category, you have no idea how big the market is, but you have to start somewhere. And so in the very first pitch deck that the Uber guys did, they identified their total addressable market as the transportation market. So transportation worldwide was 5.7 trillion. This was back in 2007. And so transportation worldwide included air freight, it included ocean freight, it included train freight, it included all of these things in all of the countries of the world. Okay, so it's a really huge market. And then to make it smaller and more approachable for their addressable market, they gave a couple of different scenarios. So in a best case market, they would be the leader in these point-to-point rides that were not taxis and would make $1 billion in revenue per year. Realistically, they thought they could get 5% of the taxi traffic in the top 5 cities in the US. And so that was something that they could research. They could see what the taxi revenue was in the largest 5 cities. And then their worst case would be that they would just remain a 10-car subscription service for people, 100 clients. So they didn't know what they were doing, right? So they were just trying to say, okay, we've really studied the market. This is what we think is possible. Best case, realistic case, worst case. And they were okay with the worst case too. But their revenue in 2024, this is 2024, I check it every time before I do a presentation, was 44 billion. That's last year, 44 billion. So they have way overshot their $1 billion per year in revenue, but then they've added other services as well. So there's Uber Freight, there's Uber Eats, there's Uber Mobility, and I don't know if they still do, probably in bigger cities, they still have Uber scooters and Uber bikes and things.
They have Uber Pet too now. Wow.
Uber Pet, so you can move your pet around. Did they really? Uber Helicopter, Uber Chopper. Yes.
Why it's 5%?
That was what they picked.
Okay. Is it, for example, if we calculate what number?
What do you have to use? Something that seems reasonable and not overly optimistic.
5% is good.
Well, it depends on, again, you're going to do the research. So what they did is they went and they found out what was the taxi revenue for top 5 cities, which I imagine is New York, Boston, Chicago, not LA, because people don't take taxis in LA. So Vegas, which used to have like so many taxis, it was such a nightmare here. And I don't know, you know, some other sort of metro city, maybe Fort Worth, Dallas, I don't know. Top 5 cities. Okay, so they were actually looking at the ranking of the revenue of taxi services. And then when they added it together, trying to project how long it would take them to penetrate each market, they just landed on 5%. Right, here's an Airbnb example. And so Airbnb actually started with air mattresses, hence the air part of it. There were a couple of kids living near Moscone Center in San Francisco, and they knew how difficult it was to get a hotel room when there was a big convention in town. And so they thought that they would be able to just throw an air mattress on the floor and rent out a room, and that would help cover their rent. So that's how that got started. So they knew that people who would be willing to sleep on an air mattress on the floor were not the Four Seasons travelers. They were going to be more cost conscious. So they looked at the number of trips that were booked worldwide. That was worth 1.9 billion. And the budget in online trips, which is what they figured that their customer category would be, was 532 million. And then this is actually not dollars. These are events, which I actually don't recommend talking about the number of users. We're interested in dollars, but they get there. Okay, and then trips with Airbnb, they figured they could get 10.6 million out of the 532 million. Okay, now to get to a dollar amount, they figured that their average fee, it's not what they were paying for the lodging, but the fee that they were going to make was $20 per 3-night trip for a convention, times the 10 million that they thought they would have. So they created a $200 million revenue projection for 2008 to 2011. So they used a 3-year timeline. And so their revenue in 2024 was 11.1 billion. So that's 1 year, 11.1 billion. So much bigger than they anticipated also. But again, these were disruptors. So your business is probably not going to disrupt anything, but we use these examples so that you have possibly lived through their not being Uber and not being Airbnb and seeing how big that they've grown. Right here is a much simpler idea. This was a business in New York City, and what they wanted to do was rent sports jerseys. And they thought that they would be able to rent for a whole season to season ticket holders. And so they went to figure out how many people watch the 5 major sports. And I don't know exactly what the 5 are. I can do 4, but the 5th one, I don't know. All right. And how many can I reach with my sales channel? And so they started in New York. They focused on New York. So they learned that 11 million people in the New York area watch the 5 major sports. And then they went and did customer discovery. They went to Yankee Stadium and they talked to people. And their idea was, okay, would you rent a jersey if you could have it for the whole season? It would be brand new in the beginning of the season. If your favorite player gets traded, no problem. You send back the jersey. We'll send you your second choice, your new favorite player. And what they discovered was that people who didn't have season tickets would rent the jersey for one-time use. And they also discovered, which really surprised them, that women were just as interested in having the jerseys as the men were, and that they didn't have to be season ticket holders. So they worked out that their research showed that 11.7% of the sports fans showed strong interest in their being able to rent them. And they also learned that half would pay for the subscription for the whole season and about half would pay per rental. So then they had to go back, take their customer discovery and say, okay, we've got another channel. So let's figure out what we should charge for the one-time rental. So this is reworking that slide into our stacked Venn diagram, but then also not just talking about the number of people, but getting to a revenue figure. So the number of Americans that watch the 5 major sports, the New Yorkers that watch the 5 major sports. So that's the smaller segment of all of the sports fans in the country. And then the ones that are enthusiastic about it. So this is just the Venn diagram for that slide. We still haven't talked about revenue yet. So 60%, more than half of the people they figured would rent it for one time. So they came up with a fee of $50. So it's still much cheaper than buying the jersey. So buying the jersey is going to be $150. 40% would buy season passes. So they would have the shirt for the whole season. They're going to charge $250 for that. So 1 times the 1x is 39 million. The season passes would generate 130 million. So they came up with $169 million as a full year projected revenue. So just 1 year. Okay, so this is one of my favorite TAM, SAM, SOM slides. So this was a product, this was actually, they were in our incubator. They have since gone out of business. So it doesn't matter how beautiful your marketing is, you still have to execute, and COVID, they were definitely a victim of COVID. This was a company that made soaps and lotions and scent things that had a particular theme. They appealed to military families, people who went to the festivals, music festivals, and people who were rugged and thought of themselves as outlaws. So the company name was Outlaw Soaps. And she built her team. She was a real geek on this stuff. She loved going down rabbit holes to try to figure out exactly who her customers were, had several different customer personas written out. So she said, okay, 8% of Americans can buy my product. They are my customers. They're my people. And that is a $3 billion market, which is huge. So this is the beautiful slide that she would show. And this is what I am not expecting this slide. I was expecting the slide that showed exactly how she got to 8% of Americans. And it was a combination of the people who attend music festivals in the summertime, Harley Davidson riders, military people, and just the outlaw people. And so she calculated by doing all of this research, that number equaled 8% of all Americans. So now we're into more general slides. All right, your target customer profile. I told you that she spent a lot of time actually developing customer profiles. And we don't, but we could do a whole class just on that. It would be a workshop that would take about 2 hours for you to define your first major customer and then try to figure out who might be a secondary customer. Sadia, we know that for you, it's kids, but it's also people who need to be uplifted and have their mood changed.
Anyone?
Or ears. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then competitors. Competitors, I think we had a discussion about competitors the other day. You should know who your competitors are, because as soon as you are presenting to an investor, they're going to start looking for who your competitors are. And if you're starting a business that is a corner diner, then you still want to know who your competitors are, how far away they are, what they're charging. You need to know who you're up against, again, to make that decision whether you should start this business or not. Yes? Yeah.
So let's say you have an ABC product, it's fairly unique, but there are, oops, sorry. There's like a XYZ product, it's like 30% similar, something like that. Is that close enough to use to track pricing and things like that?
It is. So it's, again, it's something that you can spend a lot of time
Like roller
trying to figure
skateboard.
out.
Are they close
Right.
enough?
So tell me your name again.
Brian.
Brian has this skate thing where your feet, you've got 2 separate feet that are on like wheels.
It's like a dual platform, 2 independent pieces.
It's like and so it's really easy to fall off. Now it's similar to a skateboard, but it's actually a little bit closer to rollerblades because both your feet
Separately.
can go in different directions. Right. Right. So I would say, yes, for you, you should be looking at that as your competitor, but you also have a flat skateboard because it's similar to that. So you might be able to take market share from that flat board.
Think about
Right.
other little segments as well.
Right. Little segments.
Even scooters and stuff like that, possibly.
Yes, that too, depending on how fast you can go.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, you can go real fast.
So you should consider everybody that could be a competitor. And in some cases, competition is status quo. It's that people are not willing to stop doing what they're doing to buy or purchase your solution. So you always have competition, even if you don't think you do. Because if you're creating a new field, then what your competition is like ignorance. It's like you have to educate them on why your solution is better than not changing anything about what you're doing.
There was another question in the room. Oh.
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Okay.
Really have
Just in case? Oh, you don't have competitors?
You don't really, and for the artists out there, you don't really have competitors. There's nobody that's doing exactly what you're doing, but people have a finite amount of money that they're going to spend on pleasure things. And so you have to find out what the characteristics are of your customer, what makes somebody interested in your art. And then you need to find more people like that. Yes? Go ahead, Jocelyn.
I actually met with some people that are in the same market as me. I'm independent consultant, I would say consulting in HR services. And of course, since they see me now, a potential competitor, they're going to disclose market pricing. It's hard to work with other consultants and trying to see how they're pricing their products out. Any suggestions?
Well, I have a couple of suggestions. So instead of trying to work with direct competitors, you should be looking for other consultants that have complementary services so that you two can help each other gain business. But when it comes to the direct competitors, you do want to keep an eye on what they're offering and whether you think that you need to offer something similar or better or ignore it. Okay, Jocelyn?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. All right. You're a competitive advantage. There could be 6 market differentiators. You want to focus on how you're better and how you're different. And that should be reflected in the marketing that you do. And if you are just breaking into an industry like a consultant, then you want to get testimonials about how you have helped them. If you're opening a restaurant, then you want fabulous reviews, you want great pictures of your food. Your images should evoke the kind of emotion that you want people to have when they're in your restaurant. All right, when we get to pitch decks, we talk about the competition slide. It is one that you should be including, and you should be listing your features that are better than your competitor. So, and you should also be checking Google for your biggest competitors, because that's what investors are going to do. If they're listening to you pitch, they will put your product in there or your service in there and see who else is doing it. So they want to know who else is doing it well. Yes, ma'am?
The document that I'm following along on, you have some duplicates in here and some of these pages aren't in here. So you have some.
What are you looking at?
I'm looking at the overview online that comes with the module. Like I'm following.
Oh, okay.
But some of these, like this one wasn't there. It's a kind of like you have a couple duplicates of other pages and not some of the ones that you're showing.
Okay.
We'll make note and take a look at what's posted online versus what you're sharing.
Yeah, so this slideshow will be on Disco too.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking on.
There'll be an updated one, so
But
they
it's-
post, yeah.
It's different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like it was following along and then all of a sudden
It got different. Did you get my slide that I didn't have there talking about how, what was her name? Danielle got to her 8% of Americans?
No.
Okay. Well,
But I'll just take pictures.
okay.
It's available. We're going to post this exact one she's sharing on Disco.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so competition. Yes, Sadia.
I don't understand all the pictures. What's the X and what's the P and what's the yellow squiggles?
Oh, these are competitors, and this person just put logos from their competitors. Neither do I.
Okay.
They're just random examples. Yeah.
Yeah, so you could put the name or you could put their logo if it's well known.
So like if it was Nike, it would be Adidas, Converse, Reebok.
Yeah,
would
you'd
be-
have the swish and the 3 stripes and stars.
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Like actual direct competitors, you wouldn't do that, right? You
If
talk
there are
about-
no direct competitors, but you want to have a competition slide, you can do it differently. I like the matrix the best. And so if you have something that is a much lesser product, like Henry Ford with his car, and then there's the horse, you would have a horse up here.
Yes, sir.
You would talk about how fast the horse is, how much the horse eats, you know, how you're different. Hi, Teresa.
Hi. So if, as she was saying, because I'm not sure how I would find my competitors, because I work with youth who have difficulties completing high school. So I work with middle and high schoolers, but we mainly focus on the high schoolers. Yet the only two that I've found that are in our similarity is Nevada Partnership for Homeless Youth as well as Shannon West. Yet they don't really focus on the students or their clients. Once they become a client with them, they don't focus on them graduating. Their focus is on transitioning them into life skills and getting housing.
So this would be one of your differentiators.
Okay.
That you're focused on making sure that they get their high school diploma.
Right.
Which is going to set them up for a better life, the potential to go to college. So that is one of your differentiators. So you would have big green check marks there and they would have little red X's.
Okay.
All right. And now I recall this presentation was about TAM, SAM, SOM, and competition. Now we're talking about competition. This is a slide that I like from a company that is still in business. Fellows started off as students at UNR, and every spring there's a competition within the business school. It's called the Sontag competition. There's an endowment. There's a $50,000 prize that they don't even have to, they could take a vacation. They don't have to put it into their business. So these guys, it was called Stern back then. Now it's called Truck House. And they were avid outdoors people, and they wanted to build a camper on a shorter, smaller chassis than what were available in these bigger recreational vehicles, so that they could go deeper into the wilderness. So they were using a Tacoma truck bed. And then one of the fellows, there were two of them, one of the fellows came from a marine background. And so instead of using cheap plastic, he was using marine grade plastic so that everything was waterproof and sturdy. And they had solar panels. Now this is from, it's got to be about 8 years ago now. So there is more competition now in this field of smaller vehicles. But the reason I liked this slide is because it's very easy to see. He's got pictures of his competition. He's got price comparisons of the competition. And he shows all of the stuff that they have that's better than the competition. So we have 1, 2, 3, he's got 6 different items. I wouldn't go more than 6. 5 is better. 6 is a lot. But you do want to point out what your features are and how they're better than the rest of the competition. All right, so this goes back to research. Do you know your industry? What is the current size? What is the compound annual growth rate? This is something that is available in research. And what the industry trends are. So if you, for the last 2 years, we've been hearing about AI enabled this and AI enabled that. And it was just a buzz phrase. And so you actually really had to dig into the product to see if AI was actually doing anything in the product, because it was just something that made investors interested. All right, here it is. Here's the guy. Take the picture. Patrick Griffiths. He is the research librarian at UNLV. UNLV is a land grant institution, which means that the citizens of the state have access to it. And that means that the employees there are also supposed to give you their time. But Patrick loves doing this, so he will help you. Yes, ma'am? Oh, you're just...
This will be like, we're getting it, right?
Yes, you will get it. Yep. All right. Everybody got a picture that wanted one? Okay. All righty. Oh, the pre-program survey is still showing up. I thought we had switched over to demo day signups. Next week? Okay. All right. If you haven't checked in, please do. We're finishing a little bit early. I can see we've got 3 of our mentors here. Well, Ken was here. I don't know where he is now.
Ken's there.
Okay. Oh, behind the
Ken
pole?
and Steve are there.
Okay, Amanda and Steve are here.
We're gonna take out some ice cream.
Yeah, so let's have a little
So
snack.
let's do that.
And we have our list of mentor assignments. So if you guys are doing stuff in Disco, if you're making submissions in Disco, your mentor will be reviewing your submissions and giving you feedback.
Hey, I just wanted to say real quick, I can't raise my hand for some reason. There's no icon on my end. But I just want to say I love how when you're doing the market research, you also want to compare and contrast the customer's likelihood to not do anything, to factor that in, to where your product, even though it's nifty and all this, they're still not willing to invest in it, or it's not a problem that's big enough for them to want to necessarily address. So I really like that angle because I think that's a huge elephant in the room.
It is. And if you can do research on Google and you can say like, show me products that were ahead of their time. And in many cases, they're products that we're using now, but they were introduced too early and there wasn't enough interest in the public at the time to start using them. And so businesses started and then they failed. And then other businesses that probably in adjacent areas added in these features so that they were just too early. And so it is important to know what the resistance is for switching to using your product. Thank you. You may. Where's the microphone? Okay.
The question about this picture. So if we will look carefully at this, it's like these guys say that they have all this design of raw materials and something else, and they're better than other people and their price is lower.
Yes.
But usually it's, how can we prove that it's not a fairy tale? So it's just a picture they want to show what is behind this picture, or we can create the same
So they
picture.
actually they built one. And so for that Sontag competition, they invited people to go outside and look at it.
But again, they look at their van, at their product, and there were no product of other company stay near to compare and to prove that they tell the truth.
Well, this is
When we create our deck,
yeah.
how deep we have to go with this analysis. So.
Well, if your product is software, then many software has a free trial period. And so people would be able to test whether what you're saying is true or not. So you have to be truthful.
Rules, it depends from what side you look on it.
Okay, I guess truth is somewhat subjective, but if it's, people are going to test you.
Okay.
So best to be 100% truthful. All right, they have brought out the ice cream. So if you guys want to go grab something, please enjoy. And then we'll get started with the mentoring at 7 o'clock.
Thank you, Pastor.
Thank you.
Are we ending online?
Oh, yeah.
Thanks all for joining online. We will see you guys next week.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. Also, you guys are missing out on ice cream. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just so you know. Okay. Have a great night, everybody online.
Thank you.